Let's talk about my most recent career move to Aqua Security, specifically to become their open source developer advocate. Hello there and welcome back to my channel. For those who are new here, my name is Anais and usually I make videos related to Kubernetes, the cloud native ecosystem, DevOps and everything in between. Now, if you've been following me for some time now, you might know that I've changed most recently to Aqua Security to become their open source developer advocate. Before that, I was working at Civo, which is a cloud native service provider based on Kubernetes in their site reliability engineering team. So how did that move happen? Why did I move? If you're following me for even longer, you might have seen my latest video on my career, which is now a little bit outdated. It basically describes my most recent career moves. If you've been following me for even longer, you might know that I got started my career in the blockchain space. I was working for several years in the blockchain space, first as technical analyst and engineer, then developer advocate and community manager. Now, after working for several years in the blockchain space, I got tired of everything that was going on there. The culture, the sexism that you have to face in a highly male-dominated space. The biases, some of them are true, and it just moved more towards this kind of trading culture versus the engineering innovative culture. So I saw people who were previously doing lots of research in the space becoming their own crypto token founders and similar. So there were lots of kind of factors that got me to want to move out of that industry, that space. So overall, tech is not just tech. Tech is divided into several different industries, different spaces that kind of feed off each other and are interconnected. But ultimately, you will find very different communities in those spaces. So I got started at a startup called CodeFresh as their developer advocate within their developer advocacy marketing team. And that allowed me to get started with DevOps, to learn about Kubernetes, DevOps platforms, DevOps technologies, Docker, and the cloud native ecosystem overall. And also start my YouTube channel. Around the same time, similar time, I became a CNCF ambassador. And that's also when my journey into Aqua kind of started. Because at one of the first at one of the first ambassador meetings, CNCF ambassador meetings, I asked everybody if anybody would want to have a coffee chat. Just inviting people like, hey, please do reach out if you want to have a chat to meet new people in the space. And one person reached out, which was Itai. Itai is now the director of open source at Aqua Security. So we've been in contact for some time now. We had several kind of mentoring calls where he explained me different technologies, where I asked questions and similar since then. So he saw all of my change, all of my growth, all of the content that I created in the space. And around the same time, maybe a bit later, about a year ago, I was looking into different job opportunities that are out there in the space. And one of my other mentors, Alex Jones, told me that he was getting started at Civo. And that's when I started my conversations with Civo, and they provided me with this very unique opportunity to get started in SRE, to have that more technical experience that I thought I really needed. So if you're new to developer advocacy is usually placed at organizations within the marketing team, especially if those are smaller organizations, smaller teams. Then developer advocacy is highly marketing oriented. However, you would want to have developer advocates be actually more integrated in the engineering team. So it really helps if you have engineering experience, lots of engineers, if they have developer advocacy skills such as public speaking, technical writing, documentation writing, they are great for developer advocacy. Now, I don't have that really technical engineering background, so I thought it's a great opportunity for me to work as SRE, to produce content kind of on the side based on the work that I was doing. And it worked out great for most of the time. And I had an amazing experience at Civo, and I learned tons in their SRE team. It was great. And when Itai was looking for a developer advocate to join the open source team, I kind of jumped at the opportunity because I love doing developer advocacy. I love creating technical content and like just tutorials and making tools and projects more accessible for other community members, right? I know how difficult it can be getting started. If you look at my earliest videos on this channel, you can see the struggle that I was facing getting started in the space. So this is really at my heart, to make those tools more accessible for a wider audience, for a more diverse audience as well. And the role at Aqua had two main unique features to it. The first one is that I'm actually integrated within their open source team. So all of the people that I'm working directly with are the open source engineers. Now I'm also collaborating with their content team and their marketing team, but I'm mainly integrated within their open source engineering team, which makes a huge, huge, huge difference. That's the first thing. Now, the second thing is that I get to focus on developer advocacy. So it was, working at Civo, it was really difficult to kind of find the balance between developer advocacy and SRE work. So I was doing lots of my developer advocacy work actually in my free time and on my weekends, even though it was highlighting and featuring Civo. So focusing again more on developer advocacy kind of gives me that advantage or the possibility to produce better content as well, to produce more focused content, and have in my day-to-day work the incentive to both do technical work and engineering work, such as writing examples, creating examples and tutorials, or creating new integrations, but also to create this content work, right? And advanced data documentation and tutorials and similar, right? So those are the two main advantages of or the two main features of why I wanted to join Aqua in the first place. Now, separately, Aqua is doing an amazing work with their open source projects. Those open source projects are loved by the community. I've produced one video on Civo so far, so check that out if you're completely new to container image scanning, right? Anyway, so their tools are separate from their enterprise products, so I'm solely focused on producing content related to their open source projects, on advancing their open source projects and helping their open source community, right? Which is really nice to have this kind of focus in your work. And Aqua has an amazing culture. One of the things that I struggled with at Civo was actually the culture. I really didn't identify with the culture there, and it's something that either has to click or it doesn't, you know? So if you work at a startup, you really have to identify with the culture, you have to be aligned with the culture, and it wasn't for me. And it was kind of both-sided, agreed upon, especially when I was leaving. It was kind of yeah, we know why. Yeah, so the culture wasn't for me. And they knew that, my managers at Civo knew that, I knew it. So that's was one of the other things why I felt I had to leave as well. Why I felt I wasn't working out. You can't change, especially for one individual, you wouldn't change the culture of a startup. It's a different topic. I've worked with several different startups, especially in the blockchain space before, and you really have to click with that culture. You have to you have to identify with the culture to really be into the project, to really be able to support the project. Wasn't there at Civo. Now, moving on. Aqua has this amazing culture that I really love, really enjoy. Since my first day from joining Aqua, everybody has been reaching out to me and asking me if they can help me with anything, if there's anything I need, has been welcoming me to Aqua. It's this really inclusive, open culture that I love. It has a lot of autonomy to it. People are giving a lot of autonomy. It's remote first. Yeah, so it's right for, it feels right for me, if that makes sense. So those are kind of the reasons of why I joined Aqua. Now what's next? I posted this tweet of what I'm doing currently at Aqua. I'm planning events, or specifically planning events that I'm gonna speak at, but also planning events as program committee members at different events. So for example, DevOps Days Birmingham. If you're in the UK, check out DevOps Days Birmingham. We would love to see you there, and we would love to hear from you there. If you're not familiar with the DevOps Days structure, check that out as well. Link below. What else am I doing? I'm doing user research. Why am I doing user research? Usually you would have a UX researcher who does user research in the open source team. You really want to understand how do people get onboarded into your open source projects. So I'm doing user research based on which I'm then modifying the documentation to make the documentation easier to follow, more inclusive. What else am I doing? I'm producing example content. I'm producing Katakoda examples. I'm creating tutorial videos. I'm planning live streams. I'm creating integrations, plugins for our tools in different projects in the space, right? So there's lots and lots of different things that I'm working on right now. We are also gonna look for a community manager. So I know, and also at some point for developer advocate for the enterprise product. So if you're curious to learn more, please do reach out. My Twitter DMs are open. You can also reach me through my contact form. And yeah, that's basically the overview of why and how and when I joined Aqua. No, I hope it was interesting. If you would like to see more of these kind of videos, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for upcoming videos. If you have any questions, join my live stream related to, well, ask questions related to DevOps, the cloud native ecosystem, my career, my thoughts on different topics. Join the live stream. It's every Tuesday at 1 p.m. GMT time. Do you say it like that? Anyway, I would love to see you in one of my upcoming videos. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.